Welcome back to the BackCountry Pa Podcast. You got myself, Cody.
And you have a very curious Ethan.
So this episode is going to be with Kyle Allen from ANF Custom Calls.
Yes.
We sat down with him to talk all about turkey. This is the second episode. Well, with Jacob Emery, we did like 30 minutes of turkey talk. Mm-hmm. This one was like an hour, 20 minutes of just pure turkey talk. Like, we dropped a lot of... Kyle is big on woodsmanship, put it that way. And we talk how woodsmanship pretty much helps him get on turkeys. Like, whether it's roosting them, finding where they are, like where to walk, to call, to find them, to hear them the best. Like, you got to change up where you're going, all that kind of stuff. Like, it was a great, very informative episode. So you're going to learn a lot from this episode in general. His most memorable turkey hunt, we cover that. Spring versus fall, because he does spring and fall hunting for turkey. So in the fall, he uses a dog for that. And then in the spring, he just traditional,
which
obviously.
Is very interesting.
Yeah. So we talk about that a little bit. Strategy for calling. We do that since he is the owner of ANF Custom Calls, which is called Allen and Friends.
Yes.
Even though you may think Allegheny National Forest, it's just ironic how he's in that area to begin with. But it was a really good episode. Like, you're going to learn a lot from this episode, so listen to the whole thing. You're going to hear a lot. But before we get to that, first, we have some, we're in the affiliate program for Sizzlin' Strips beef brisket jerky, and this one's called Whiskey Lullaby.
So going to put me to sleep, is it?
I hope not.
I don't know. I got to go to work. I can't go to bed.
Smells good. I could smell a little bit of whiskey in that.
Oh, yeah.
Take one out?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And while we do this, while we taste this...
that is more than one. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's...
There
we go.
There's my little strip.
While we do this, actually a listener and follower of the podcast sent in a video. So he was out fishing. Obviously, fishing is in right now. But this was from Brandon Sides. On Instagram, looks like it's Cluster FUK4. Clusterfuck4 is his handle.
Solid.
But he sent this in. It was just completely out of a whim. Not going to say where it's at. Don't want to blow up his area. But he was very shocked by this. Hopefully the audio plays through the recording.
No freaking way. No shit.
No fucking way. No fucking way. Get the fuck out of here, you asshole. Fuck off. You gotta be kidding me. He full on had my fish.
That was so cool.
So if you're not watching the video, which I highly recommend either watching on Spotify or on YouTube, subscribe. But Brandon, it looked like either, I don't know if he caught the fish or if it was on one of those. It looks like he caught the fish.
It was on a stringer.
Was it on the stringer?
Yeah.
So it's on a stringer, and he's pulling in a river otter that's eating his, what is that, a trout?
Or is that a
bass? I don't know what that looks like. A trout.
No
That's a
fucking
trout.
way.
That looks like a
No fucking way.
No, that's a
Get the fuck
like
out
a
of here,
mink.
you asshole.
A mink.
Fuck
Okay.
off.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Or yeah, it looks like a mink or something.
You gotta be kidding
That's
me.
crazy. That's absolutely insane. When he
Now
sent it to
that-
me, I was like, that's insane. Insane. But
That's kind of cool. I like that. I like those kind of videos.
Yeah,
they're just
if
like
you
things
have
you don't
more-
expect.
if you're a listener, you're a follower, and you hear this and you want to send in a video that you thought was pretty cool, send it in. We'll do a little review on the intro and, have all the viewers watch it. If you have a YouTube video that you want us to watch, send it in. We do have something planned for that. Trying to plan that out. But remember, we have partners in the description, XOP. We have a few in the works. XOP, Camp Co., Sizzlin' Strips, Onyx, Tractor Beam, which is a new one. So that's where they have minerals. It's by Taylor, one of our a guest we've had on, a friend of ours. He started his own company. He does deer minerals and food plot seeds and all that kind of stuff.
I'm
So
excited to try a few of those food plot mixtures he's got.
I'm gonna buy some mineral from my parents' camp up there and put it out up there and see what comes in. Put a camera over all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so check out the description for all the partners, all that kind of good stuff. Help us keep growing. Make sure you check out Deer Age, even though season's out right now. You can check out Deer Age, save 10% with our code in the description. But we want to thank you guys for listening, supporting us. Remember to keep hunting,
Keep fishing.
and always enjoy the freaking process. See ya. Enjoy. So before we get in the episode, obviously, how about we have Kyle introduce himself before we go too far?
Yeah. So my name is Kyle Allen. I own ANF Custom Calls, and I'm from Western Pennsylvania. I grew up in Mercer County, real small town, but I grew up hunting the big woods of Pennsylvania, and I completely fell in love going up there, and you don't have to worry about property lines or anything, and so you truly get a full hunting experience. When you hunt a big piece of public land like that. So you encompass that with a love for hunting every big game species in Pennsylvania, which they're all up there in the big woods. So yeah, that's kind of how I got introduced to hunting, was going up there with my family and friends and hunting every species that's available in PA.
Yeah, that's one reason I love the big woods in general. Is just because, man, like you said, like you can walk miles and miles and not run into a single posted sign, or sometimes even another hunter. Like there's sometimes there's no other hunter out there. It's like, it's kind of eerie at the same time. Like, especially when you think like, okay, if I get lost back here, like no one's gonna find me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where we've been hunting, my family's been hunting that area for about probably 80 years now, 90 years. So where we hunt, we're not going to get lost. But if you've never gone to that area, yeah, you don't have cell service, it would be an eerie feeling.
Yeah. There was one time on top of the mountain, I got to the very top and I thought I was like going towards the edge of the mountain, or I think I was trying to go back to the point, and I like on top, some of those mountains, it's flat for like miles.
Yeah.
On top from side to side.
Like, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like walking up there and I'm like, I look at OnX and I'm like, oh wow, I'm not even going the right direction at all. Like what I thought I was going. It's like, holy crap. Like I had to make like a complete 180 to be able to go the direction I wanted to go. It was like, man, if I didn't have OnX. And that's one thing I wanted to bring this up, because I really like the one shirt on your website. The only shirt on your website, you can't buy woodsmanship. I really like that.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of had the idea with that shirt, especially like in today's age of hunting. Mm-hmm. You have drones, we have, all these topo maps on your phones that you can have while you're in the woods. And, if you take all that away, and if someone were to just drop you in the woods with a weapon, would you be able to get the animal you were after? You can't buy the ability to do that. And so that's kind of my thought with that shirt. That's for the guys who have that kind of passion where, they don't hang tree or trail cameras or anything. They just go out and they love the surprise factor with hunting. They don't know what's there. They're going to go out, they're hunting a buck. They go out and they see they set up on a spot. It's got the sign. They kill it. They're happy. That's who that shirt's for. You know what I mean? Like, and then turkey hunting's a big sport with just woodsmanship, right? You're not going to pattern turkeys in timber woods with a camera. You have to go use woodsmanship every morning that you're going to go hunt that turkey. You have to call to it. So with turkey hunting, especially, that's where woodsmanship really comes into play.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. So the big woods compared to like ag and stuff like that, it's completely different because I had an encounter with one single bird before in like ag type country with like maybe a little bit of hills, and like it would change based on the weather. Like it was I think I tried to do it back like 3 years ago of like trying to figure out this turkey. So like it would rain sometimes the day before and I think he was up high, and when it didn't rain, he'd be down low near the fields. So it'd be like every other time he'd be in either the same tree that I'm hunting. So I was trying to figure out how close to get to that roost tree. And the one time I thought I had him pinned, I was literally maybe 10 yards underneath his tree when he went off. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get this guy. But then I very quickly, that's too close to be.
Yeah. Because when they pick out, they have to have a place to land. They can't just drop out of they got to soar out and light gently. They can't just light straight below themselves. So
be like a boulder just falling out of it.
Yeah, I did that one time. I did exactly what you did. I set up at the tree the turkey was in, and I was like, well, I did end up getting him, but
well, so I'll get into that story quick. So it was like 4 weeks in a row I was at the same turkey. So like he'd be down in the field, be trying to call him up to me, which in your opinion, is it easier to call turkey uphill or downhill?
Well, for your setup, calling them uphill, because when you call them downhill, they have a vantage point, right? So they can sit there and look to wherever you're at. Whereas if you call them uphill, when they come up to look up over the hill, they should be in shotgun range if your setup's right.
Okay. All right. Because like I think that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to call him uphill, like a slight hill to me. But once again, like I didn't bring any decoys with me. I didn't take any decoys. I was just like calling pretty much.
Yep.
So I was trying to do that.
That's mainly how I hunt. Now around here where I live in central Ohio, actually, and there's some places around here where I have permission to hunt. It's only field. I can't hunt the woods. So if I'm set up on the edge of that field calling to the turkey that I can't shoot in the woods, but when he comes out in the field I can shoot, I'd be an idiot for sitting there calling to it. And then when he comes to the edge of the woods and looks out in the field and there's no hen there, well, he ain't going to come out in the field. He might, but I mean, he's probably going to sit in the woods and strut, because he's not sure that he doesn't want to leave his safety area. So he's not going to expose himself without knowing that hen's out there. Whereas, when I'm hunting big woods, one, I'm walking really far, so very decoy. I did a couple times when I started hunting with Chad Claycomb on Claycomb Outdoors. He came up to the camp and we were hunting, and I wasn't sure. I never hunted on camera. I didn't know if we needed a decoy for the turkey to sit still in front of the camera for him or what. So like that was basically the only time I've used decoys. I did that one year, but I like hunting where you can go and you can move and not have to worry about the decoy, just get your setup. And I usually like setting up, where the turkey is going to pop out, I'm going to shoot it. Like, I don't want to see the turkey coming from a long way. When he shows himself, I'm shooting him.
Okay.
And that's usually how I'm, trying to set up on a turkey. But that's, again, for timber hunting. If you're hunting in a field, obviously you're going to have to use some sort of decoy. Back to, using woodsmanship and stuff. If you really just want to kill a turkey, go get a strutter decoy and set it in the field. You're going to kill a turkey. Like, there's no doubt about it. If there's a dominant gobbler in the area, he's going to come running to it. But if you want to have, the experience of, hey, I called it in, I used some woodsmanship, get a decoy or just call it to it. That's going to give you the most fulfilling, I think, experience when you're turkey hunting.
Yeah, I think that's why I was like, one, it's also a lot more stuff to take in the woods. Also, like, you got to carry all these decoys in. Like, even though it wasn't far that I was walking in, I could have easily taken the decoys in and just set them up. But then also I was like, I was still in the mindset trying to figure out how to even hunt a turkey. How do I hunt a turkey? Like, what do I do? So like, I think I went out with our buddy Matt the one time. We set up on this turkey and I was able to pinpoint him. Like, I think is that one of the hardest things to do is like pinpoint where exactly a turkey's at. Because like our buddy, he was like, oh, he's over here, but I was like, no, I think he's on this point over here, because I was like, I looked at OnX, like there was a point on him on the hill.
Yep.
I was like, he's probably on that point right there over this gully, like over the ravine at this gully right there. And after we were walking over there, after he went completely silent, it turned out there was feathers right there. Like he was right there. Like it was his poop was underneath this tree. He was right there. But I mean, is that one of the hardest things for like a new turkey hunter to do?
Oh, for a new turkey hunter, yeah, I would say that's going to be up there with, some of the hardest things you're learning how to do is, one of the keys to not being able to, or one of the keys to helping yourself be able to pinpoint them is to get yourself away from like any trees or anything that's going to obstruct the sound waves from getting to you. Because you got to think, when a turkey gobbles, there's sound waves coming. And if you're standing beside this giant cherry tree, and he's to your right and the tree's to your right, and you hear that sound, it's going to probably sound like the turkey's out in front of you or it's behind you. It's not going to sound like it's to your right. It's not going to sound like the sound came from that direction, because there's a barrier between you and that turkey. Mm-hmm. So when you're not listening right off the bat, I like to get away from any objects if you can. I mean, sometimes it's hard to do that, obviously, but the least amount of obstruction you can have within like your close proximity is going to give you your best ability to be able to pinpoint where that turkey's at, especially in like hill country where, and this is another thing that you might not think about. There might be a turkey within 200 yards of you and he's off of a ledge and you can't hear him. And you'll be standing, no turkey's here. Meanwhile, there's a gobbler gobbling his head off 200 yards from you, but he's facing away from you and downhill. So you're never going to hear the sound.
Oh, okay. And so you're like calling at the top third of one side of the hill and he's on the other side of the hill, like 200 yards over.
I'm just saying, even on the roost, you don't even have to be calling. Yeah, in calling instances as well. But yeah, you got to think of with the lay of the land. If I'm going back into a spot to hunt and I'm just blind calling, say it's mid-morning, I'm going to run and gun. I'm just running around calling, and I'm on this plateau walking around, and I'm in the trail that I'm on is, say, in the middle of the plateau, and I'm calling, trying to get birds to gobble. If those birds are on the side of the hill that I'm hunting, they're never going to hear me. Because I'm up calling, and when that sound wave travels off the top of that hill, it's not going downhill, it's going straight out across. So he's not going to hear me, and I'm not going to hear his response. So even if there's a trail in some spots, get off the trail that you're walking in on and hunt the ridge. Call down over, call up top. That's going to give you your best success and ability to hear everything that's there.
So would you kind of recommend, like, if say you're on that crest, that ridge top, whatever, like kind of like doing like a snake, like zigzagging back and forth over top until you possibly find one do that way?
Yeah, you can do that. Or if say like the gate that you parked at or wherever you parked out is, as at the beginning of the little finger, you can just do like a horseshoe on the ridge. Say you're hunting like a finger that goes out, just walk the ridge around out to the point and then come back and around, and that way you'll have called down, you'll have called up, and you'll called out over the point. And so maybe you'll hear a bird on the hill across from you, or everything in the woods in your area is going to hear you if you do that. But if you just stay right in the middle of the trail, and I'm specifically speaking to hill country here, if you stay in the middle of the plateau, you're not going to hear everything down over the hill.
That makes a lot of sense, because I remember I had a cabin up in Clinton County, and like we'd drive those back roads and you'd be on the very top and we would get out of the truck and like start calling and we're up high. So like that turkey down low might not even hear us because the sound just keeps going without bouncing off anything. So makes a lot of sense. That's wow. We jumped right into the tips and tactics right there. Yeah. We jumped right into that. Wow.
Yeah. So now by the end of this, we're going to be killing turkeys this May. So don't you worry.
I'm gonna get one of them now.
You better. Heck yeah, dude. Well, how do you? Sorry, go ahead.
It's like a chess game. There's so much strategy with it. Yeah, that's what makes it interesting. There's continued communication and interaction during the whole hunt. If you go deer hunting, you sit in a tree stand. you could sit there for 4 hours before something walks by. Whereas with turkeys, if you're on them, you might be on them all day. You know, all morning your heart's going. You know, you're in the thick of things the whole time.
Yeah.
Which is
How do you
That is
even
fun.
find a turkey? So like, how do you? Because you said like you can't. Like I don't, because you don't hear anyone like. I mean, I don't know if can you scout for turkey. I was like, okay, Cody has 9 bearded turkey on camera. Like, you just start from there and say, okay, like, okay, he has all those turkey on camera. How do you proceed from that moment?
so you kind of have to take a mental log all year. Where are you when you're deer hunting, when you're bear hunting? Where am I seeing turkeys at? That's kind of what I do is like, okay, I saw tracks here, I saw turkeys there. So then you go back, you know, closer to the season, and the best thing to do is go listen. Turkeys are going to tell you where they're at.
Mhm.
You know, you bring like end of March all through April. You know, that's how I grew up hunting turkeys and learning how to turkey hunt. It wasn't, you know, and I hate to say this, but you know, we were just harping on it. Woodsmanship, you know, you can't use technology. You can't rely on the technology. The best way to do it is go get your feet on the ground and listen. You know, we used to drive, you know, 45 minutes, you know, on the weekends. This is right when I started turkey hunting. I was 12 years old, and we would go listen every weekend where the turkeys were. So then come opening morning, you knew 5 or 6 spots that if the first spot didn't pan out, you have, you know, 5 other spots you can go to. And, you know, you learn a lot of information from just riding around in a truck doing that. You know,
Yeah,
it's a little on gas, but other than that, you've got firsthand information.
I imagine it's almost like we've had conversation before about like chasing after one buck, like chasing after one particular buck, the only buck you're gonna chase after. I imagine it'd be the same way for turkey. Like if you know where one gobbler is, and you're just chasing after that one gobbler, like I did, you know, you just chase after that one gobbler, and not have any backups. You're gonna be like, it's kind of gonna ruin your passion or drive to keep going after it if you keep skirting you. You know, you want to have those backups, which, you know, I don't know. I just feel like that's very comparable.
I'll hunt a turkey that's gobbling and answering me, but if he isn't coming to me and I know he has hens with him, I will literally leave the turkey and go hunt somewhere where I don't even know if there's turkeys at. I'll go try to find another one and come back to this one later in the morning, you know, if I can't find something else. Now, that's a gamble on public land because I might leave him and I might go somewhere else and come back. There might be a truck parked where I was. And then that's the risk you take. I mean, and that's the fun thing about turkey hunting is, you know, to me, it's not like shooting, you know, 190-inch buck. There's not a 190-inch turkey. Every turkey I feel like I've shot has felt the same. I've had the same level of excitement, same level of enjoyment standing over it after I killed it. You know, it's more about the experience with turkey hunting, and that's what makes it a lot of fun to me. And you could call for a friend. Like I get the same level of enjoyment sitting behind someone calling a turkey to them and them killing it. Me myself killing it.
Yeah, I can 100% see like the enjoyment of it because like the communication between you and a turkey, it like when that turkey goes off, I can't even like explain how like awesome like or how excited I got when I heard that turkey just go off in the roost, and he was just going off nonstop, and I was like, oh my gosh, like we're
talking shit.
We're talking
shit.
Like like the excitement, it's like bugling elk too. It's the same thing, kind of.
Yeah. My parents used to drop me off in blocks of woods around our house that we had permission to go to. And this was before I had a cell phone or anything. And I would just say, come back and pick me up at 9:30. And I would go out and just sit there with a camera and I would call to the turkeys and I would be hidden so well that I could film them coming up to me and they wouldn't see me. You know, I wouldn't spook them or anything, but I learned a lot from doing that. So like any of your younger listeners, I would invite you to go to the woods. Find, you know, if you know someone who has turkeys on their property, just go sit in the woods underneath of them in the morning and listen to them. You know, see what they do, see how they react to your calls. You can call to them. I mean, I think that's a big fallacy that gets pushed is, you know, birds get called by. I mean, To an extent, they will. Like if obviously if the turkey sees me standing there calling, repeatedly, it's gonna spook. But if I call a bird in and it doesn't ever see me and it comes in and doesn't find the turkey it was looking for, you know how often that happens in the woods? Turkeys call all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's never been a major thing. And I used to go do this. What I'm talking about as a kid, I would go call these turkeys in. I'd go in there on the first day and kill one. It's. So to me, it's more of a value learning than it is a prohibition in your.
I think, like, to what you're speaking about, like that time frame too, like when we're out calling these turkey, that's their rut, right? Like that's their rut time.
Yeah, they're developing everything. They're not thinking straight. Yeah, exactly what you said.
So I mean, they're not thinking straight. So like, yeah, they may get call shy, but yet in reality, they're so horned up that they'll come in to like.
The urge is for logic.
Yeah, but like
it's like slamming a car door. Like you see these videos, people slam car doors and turkeys just go off.
Dude, there was up in Clinton County, there was a guy who had a pet turkey. All right, we were driving to go turkey hunting. And we saw this guy like out front with this big tom, he was strutting up and everything like that. We stopped beside just to like do some calls to it, just to like see what it would do. And it went off and it got so horned up, it started doing stuff with its
self.
Yeah. It was like it was looking at itself in the truck and it just started diddling itself right there. Like I was like, wow, what's going on right here?
We should leave.
Yeah, this is inappropriate. But like then it just kept like it was so puffed up the whole time. I was like, what is going on? Like I never saw a turkey puffed up. The one time I did, and maybe you have a good answer for this. Like I was on a pipeline. I was about to go down over top. There was a tom with 3 hens, or like 2 hens, I think it was, right there. And then they separated. So I imagine he did his thing. He left. Now, after they get together, how long will it take for that turkey to like want to find another hen? Do you know? Like, do you have a rough estimate, or have you ever run into that before?
Where they breed them, and then you're asking how soon after? Almost immediately.
Oh, really?
I've watched them, not almost, literally immediately. I've watched them breed hens, and then gobble and come in, like get off the hen, gobble, and come right over.
Wow.
So they are full on turkey rut.
Yeah, so it's not like a deer where they're bedded down for 3 days after. It's just like, all right, next.
Where's the next one? And that's the say, in personal experience, this is the case a lot. When you heard me say that I'll leave the turkey if it has a hen, and that's the exact scenario where that hen doesn't want the competition. So no matter where I go and call from, and let me back up. In Pennsylvania, it is illegal to kill a turkey in the spring by any method other than the turkey coming to a turkey call. You cannot set up on the edge of a field and let one walk by and shoot it. That is illegal. You have to call the turkey in, which is basically a safety game commission, so people aren't sneaking up on turkeys and shooting them, killing other hunters.
Yeah, that's what I have. I've always had this like kind of like eerie feeling about like reaping and like doing that kind of stuff with guns and like
I would do that.
It's just so dangerous to me. Like you're doing that. If you're doing that on public, like you're not too smart, because like there's someone else out there that may not know what you're doing. They just see the tail and they're just gonna shoot right away. But then if you're doing it on private, it's a little different. Like maybe you're the only one there. Like there might be someone else, but like I just don't. I can't get on board with the whole reaping thing.
And in most states that's not even legal. Pennsylvania being one, that's not even legal, and I don't think it's legal in Ohio either.
I don't think there's a lot of states that's legal, but people still do it.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm not for that.
No.
What about? So here's my story. I had an opportunity at a turkey this past fall. Okay, actually more than one. So this was after I shot my buck. It was fall turkey season up at the cabin, and I'm walking around taking the shotgun for a walk, and I hear kind of like walking or like it looked like. So first I thought something was just jumping around because I was up on top of the quarry and there's a road down below. So first off, I'm thinking there's a squirrel, hopping back and forth in the leaves. Look over the edge. There's 3 or 4 hens digging in the leaves. So I was like, oh. And I knew turkey was in because I looked it up prior. Because the turkey season in the fall up north is very small. It's only a few days. So I looked it up. It was in. And looking back, I should have shot. I could have had my first turkey, but I wasn't confident because I thought it was a little too far. But then looking back, it's like, no, I could have killed that turkey. Like I had a clear headshot. Like I could have dropped it.
And you had a shotgun?
Yeah, 20 gauge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I should have had it. So I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And I don't know. Now that you think, is there different rules for the fall? Because I want to make sure I did this correct. Because you said you can't kill a turkey in the spring unless you call it in. Fall's different? Because if not, then I might not have did something right.
No, so you probably did everything you were supposed to do. I don't know what you did. What did you do from there?
Okay, so I didn't think I had a good shot. So I was like, okay, I know the direction that they're heading. They're heading down the trail. I am on my family's property at this point. I'm not on public land. Well, it doesn't think it matters, but still. I literally run down the top of the ridge, cut around, and I was going to cut them off. I was like, they're going to come down the trail. They're going to come down to our switchback because I know they walk up a road sometimes. And the second they come around the corner, I'm just taking a shot at the first one because I know I can shoot either, a beard or non-beard. So I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And then I'm like, okay, they're not coming. They should have been here by now. So I look around the corner and I look up and then they're up. They cut up top to where I was, maybe 100 yards down. So what do? I run back to the front. I run back up on top thinking I can get them. And then they're freaking gone at this point. And then I see them up on the hump and then they disappear. Me running around like that, trying to get one. Like,
you should have ran straight at them and broke them up.
Oh,
so totally different strategy in the fall.
Yeah.
I actually have a turkey dog, which I got him down in Virginia off of a guy. His name was Carol Gathright. He bred this line for about 45 years. It's a mix between Plot Hound, Walker Hound, English Setter, Irish Setter, Gordon Setter, and English Pointer. And the turkey dog will go and find the turkey scent. When he gets the scent, however that may be, he might get it on the ground or he might wind them. But he'll range out and find the scent, and then he'll follow the scent and he'll scatter the flock and he'll start barking. And he'll, do circles and try to find every turkey and make sure that they all scattered. And then he'll wait there. And then you go up there and he'll sit there in between my legs in a bag, and I'll call the turkeys in and shoot them. So in the fall, the whole point of turkey hunting, the strategy of turkey hunting is, whether it's gobblers or hens, is to scatter the flock, because the flock wants to get back together. They want to be back together as a flock for safety. When they go find food, they want, all kinds of eyes to be able to see predators, and there's no mating season or anything, so they're in a flock. So, and they want to get back together. You could break up a flock of gobblers, and in the spring, if you did that, they would probably be done for the day. You're not going to hear them ever again. But if you break up a flock of gobblers in the fall, you might hear them yelp. You might hear them, just cluck. You might hear them gobble. They might all start gobbling and come back to each other. A poult flock with some adult hens, and you break them up within, and it can range. It might be 2 minutes they might start calling. It might be 4 hours before they start calling. It all depends on how much patience you have. But the whole point in fall turkey hunting, or the whole strategy, is to scatter the flock, be patient, call them in, and shoot them. So you careful. You should have ran right at them. Even 3 or 4 birds, they want to get back together. So in the strategy, you can change flock sizes. If it was a small flock like that and you broke them up, I would sit there for a while, because it's going to be maybe 3 hours before a flock that small, wants to get back together. But yeah, it is interesting how the strategy.
Man,
Right.
I thought I was doing right. I was like, oh, I'm gonna cut them off and run them on. And they're gonna walk thinking, and then it's like, no, dude, just run right at them.
It's so turkey's so interesting. I just it's so weird how in the fall they'll break up, they'll scatter, and then they'll come back pretty much to almost the same spot because they want to get back together because that's what they broke up with. And then in the spring, it's like you have to go physically find one single gobbler to try and get him to come in to a hen call. When I forget, what is it that for turkeys in the spring? Is it the gobbler that's calling in the hen or the hen that's calling in the gobbler, right?
It could be either or.
Okay.
I've seen it be either or. I've seen a gobbler sit there in one spot and strut and gobble, and hens walk to him. And then I've seen, I've had a gobbler in front of me and a hen starts cutting real hard over to my left, and he takes off over to her because she's a familiar voice and I wasn't. So he goes right over to her.
Wow. Yeah, it's just, and then bucks and does, bucks go chasing after does. That's literally what it is.
Yep.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Man. So what's I know a lot of people have different opinions on this when it comes to fall turkey, because there's people that will never shoot a hen. They don't want to shoot. They're just like, it's gobbler or Jake or nothing. Like what? And then the fall you can shoot either or. But it's like, is it?
Yeah. I think it really depends. I think you just have to use some common sense, right? Mm-hmm. Where I live in Ohio, there's not a lot of woods and there's not a lot of turkeys. So if I bring 10 guys over and we go fall turkey hunting every fall, pretty soon we're not going to have any fall turkeys. We're not going to have any turkeys. There's not going to be any. Whereas in Pennsylvania, where I hunt, every year we have a group of guys that take a week off. Now get this, everyone's taking off to go hunt the rut. We take off the first week of November to go fall turkey hunting.
Yep. That's very interesting.
So, we'll get our turkeys and then we'll go deer hunting. But the main goal is to go get your turkey, and everyone at camp usually gets one every year, which there's like 6-7 guys at camp. And every fall we get 6 or 7 turkeys. The turkey population in my area has increased, since I would say the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we're piling up turkeys in the fall. So I think the biggest answer to everyone's concern about the turkey population is habitat.
Mm-hmm.
You can have all the turkey in the world in one spot, and as soon as you take the habitat away, the turkeys are going to go away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the answer to your question, what do you think about it? Well, I think you just have to be honest with yourself. In my area, can I afford to turkey hunt in the fall and shoot all the hens? And where I live at in Ohio, the answer would be no. But in Pennsylvania, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't. The population can control itself, even predation. The habitat's there, so it's a healthy population to hunt.
Well, I think also if you look at it at a zoomed out view, not many people are going out just fall turkey hunting, right? It's right. Like if you shoot a hen or if someone else shoots a hen, you're just gaining more food for another hen's poults possibly in that area. Right. So it's the same thing as deer management, right? You got to shoot doe to have bigger buck or have healthier doe, have bigger doe. It's the same thing. So people are going to look at it, be like, you shouldn't be shooting hens because that's where the poults come from. That's all this, whatever. But in reality, it's still all up to the person holding that license. If you want to shoot a hen and you haven't shot in any turkey period, then shoot a hen because that's food on the table that you don't have to buy at a grocery store. You don't have to buy that turkey at a grocery store.
Thanksgiving covered.
Yeah.
Game animal to eat by far. The best way we've found to cook it too is, and this isn't a paid endorsement or anything, but go to Walmart and get some Kentucky Colonel It's a seasoned flour mix. And marinate your turkey overnight in buttermilk. Take it out of the buttermilk, put it in that batter, and deep fry it, and you will fall turkey hunt. If you haven't already, you will want to kill every turkey that you can.
Oh, that does sound very good.
All right. So what
It is.
So what I got to do this year is shoot for our rut.
Yep.
I got to shoot my buck early before you guys even get to the cabin again.
Well,
okay?
that's not cool if you do that again.
I have to. It'll be hung up so you guys can see it.
That's not the same.
And then I'm going to go out and shoot a turkey and not make the same mistake that I did this year. I'm just charging full steam ahead at these turkey, not trying to scoot around them. And then I'll get one. And I'm cooking it exactly like that.
And then we have turkey up at camp. You don't say that for Thanksgiving, right? Like we have that up at camp.
That's what we do.
If I shoot it early enough, yeah.
Thursday of the rutcation, and we'll have about 4 or 5 turkeys by then. But and the turkeys in the fall, if you shoot a poult, I mean they're not very big. They're a little bit bigger than the size of a pheasant, so you don't get too much meat, but it makes a pretty good meal for the group at the camp.
Yeah, I think one, if you never shot a turkey, period, it's very comparable to deer. Like get turkey under your belt, get deer under your belt before you can want to just be like, okay, I'm only going to shoot toms now, right? You got to get turkey underneath your belt. I think that's something we preach all the time for these new hunters getting into it. Like just get things underneath your belt.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. Is don't especially in today's society. I mean, there's the fear of missing out, right? Everyone wants to have their picture up and everyone tell them, well, you're the best hunter. And I think with hunters, we all probably come from, I would say maybe most of us come from an athletic background or a competitive background where, you do want to be the best, and that's hard in today's society, like to just please yourself like that. You make hunting about your own self-satisfaction. And that's what I've done. That's probably, maybe 5 or 6 years. And hunting, I think to me has become so much more enjoyable where I really don't care what anyone else thinks of what I shoot, except it makes the whole experience so much more fun. Yeah. But yeah, to your point, learn the basics. Just go hunt the animal. Learn everything you can about it. And then when you want to get down to, I want to shoot this specific turkey or I want to shoot this specific deer, then you can, maybe try that. But yeah, like you said, learn the basics. Go learn how to hunt them.
And I think fall, because that's the only time you can shoot hens. So I think you should be shooting them.
Good hen spring.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are bearded hens.
That is true. Just like antler doe.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah. But you should because everyone, almost every podcast, YouTube out there, every article is always how to get on that long beard, how to do this, how to do that. Everyone's going to be after the long beards. So you have to control the population some way. Predators do a lot. Raccoons, possums. I don't think do possums go after turkey?
They're nest raiders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have those, and you have coyotes, you have foxes, you have all this stuff that chase after turkeys and poults and hens. But yet there's still a good population. I remember going up to Ethan's cabin, and there was 20 hens just on the very top, just all there. And I'm like, so many. There has to be a tom in there somewhere. But there wasn't. It was just all hens.
Yeah, we have a lot of hens up at the cabin.
At some point, you have to control that population. You have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Get them under your belt.
So I'll shoot them. As long as I'm up at the cabin during that, like I said, it's only 3 or 4 days long up at the cabin the fall season. So as long as I'm up there during then, I can actively go and try to shoot one.
Yeah,
it'd be my first.
Yeah. I think what people get lost with hunting is they look at it too much as a sport than a skill. How could it be a sport without one team knowing they're playing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I look at hunting as a skill passed down. It's you teach another person how to hunt. It's sport at all to me.
Yeah, I hate when the one thing that there's multiple things that have been grinding my gears since starting the podcast. 6 years. Like the one thing, it's always been like my hunting career, or like it's like almost like you're comparing yourself to like the NFL or something like that. Like, I consider this more of a hobby and like a passion than I do a sport. Like I don't know. I think people are getting too close to being, oh, this is a sport. We're getting paid millions of dollars to go out there and hunt deer and get turkey and, all this kind of stuff. It's like, no, it's a hobby. It's a passion. We have this drive to go out there. It's something deep inside of us that it's unexplainable, uncontrollable, really, where it's like we need to go out there and do this.
Yeah, it was a necessity, right? So like was catching or throwing a football 50 yards a necessity 3,000 years ago?
I don't think so.
Hunting was. I mean, and that's like if say doomsday happened and now all of a sudden we have no technology and you just get dropped in the woods, would you be able to go kill something? That's the question. And that's the way I look at hunting is like, everyone could make the argument, you drive your car to your hunting spot and all blah, 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 blah. But if you just get a weapon and you go into the woods, can you kill the animal? That's the way I look at hunting.
Yeah. I mean,
and try to make it as basic as I can, to an extent. But I mean, that's the kind of the thrill of it for me is like, it's the self gratification part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, this year, the buck I shot, I had an area I was going to, but I pretty much just like read the sign when I was hunting. I didn't, it was in downpour, so I didn't want to pull my phone out, keep looking at my phone to see where I was going. So just at that point, I just read the sign that I was seeing in front of me.
Yeah.
And it led me literally right 20 yards in front of a 6 point.
You ditched technology and then had success. I tell that to people all the time, especially around here where I live in Ohio, people won't even hunt their places unless they're getting, deer on their cell cameras at their corn pile. I'm like, that's not really hunting. I mean, that
it's not
which and you're missing so many days in the woods that maybe something would have walked behind your camera that you didn't even see, I walked behind my house, in 23, that, walked, I have a camera set up back there. And had I not been sitting in the tree, I would have never known it was there. I killed it. And, if I was just waiting for a camera picture to pattern a deer, I would have never killed the biggest buck of my life, So it's, technology kind of dictate our gut, and we need to get rid of that and just go with our instinct as hunters.
Yeah. I mean,
more success.
The only technology I had was my GoPro running when I was filming. That's literally the only technology I had. So, I mean, I definitely feel like we overthink it as hunters, as like going in like, oh, I gotta go to this camera. Like that's one thing like I did this year, and now we're kind of getting off turkey hunting. We're going to deer hunting.
Yeah. I think it's just that we're talking strategy with turkey hunting. Woodsmanship is the main part of turkey hunting, and if you can wrap your head around, hey, I'm just going to trust myself with this whole thing and not rely on any technology, that's the key to turkey hunting.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a beautiful thing about turkey hunting is like Ethan said, you can't I got a picture of them back in December that I just checked my camera on and I didn't know they were there. Right. But like, I know now from that they're there, but now I have to physically go out there and like try and find them now because
see where they're, you want to find where they're roosting, where they're feeding. You want to find all that out now. And you have in there, find out where the other 7 go that don't stay with the 2 that are going to be where you have them on camera. That's enough. That there's going to be other areas there that have turkeys now because you have that one spot that had them.
Mm-hmm. And I think with turkeys, like, you can see where they're scratching. You can see where they're roosting at. You can find their poop underneath the trees, that kind of stuff. But like, find their tracks in mud, by water. Like, after they eat, they go to find gravel so they can get in their gizzard. I think is that right? Where they go to like little stones like that.
We call it crawl. I don't know what it's. Yeah. We always call it crawl. I think it's like got a bunch of rocks and stuff in it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know anything about turkeys. I'm just making stuff up as I go right now.
I sound educated.
But like, you have that stuff, but like, you're right. Like woodsmanship, turkeys are the best thing for woodsmanship because you can't put a cell cam. I'd be like, okay, when this turkey comes by this cell cam, I'm going to go out there and go, I'm going to put this over a turkey scrape. And when that turkey walks or turkey trail or whatever, like you can't do it. So like you got to use a woodsman. You got to go out there and listen to the woods.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that our buddy Alex, he runs a podcast, Buck Down Podcast. He had someone on that said about that. Like you got to listen to the woods out there. Like when you're deer hunting, listen for blue jays, listen for squirrels. Like blue jays, I didn't know this, but they like acorns. They like white oaks. So like they'll be primarily by a bunch of white oaks, whichever is fresher. So if there's white oaks, most likely there's deer. So it's like you listen to the woods and you hear it and you just go there and then you read the sign as you're doing it. Like I think that is really exciting when that happens, when it all comes together. It's 100% exciting.
I know where a bunch of hens are now. Up on I found them in rifle season. Of the ones that there was one roosted up in a tree. I found all that scratch. I thought I missed a bunch of deer scratching on the ground, like it was snow up on top of the mountain. So I thought, I'm like, oh, like because I jumped a doe with her fawn earlier to that, and I walked out to the point, and I was like, did I just miss these deer like digging the snow? And then as I'm walking around, freaking turkey tracks going left and right. And I was like, holy shit, this is where they all were this morning. This is cool. But like, so like we always said, like during the rut, you find the doe, you find the buck. Can you take that and kind of treat that with turkey, find the hens, you'll find the toms?
That's exactly what you want to do. Yeah. So what I have found in the last 4 or 5 years is find where the hens will be nesting, because what the hens are going to be doing, and I would say, I'm saying this from a perspective of someone who hunts in mid-May. So I start my Pennsylvania spring turkey season mid-May. When all the woods, so I'm hunting, that time of year. And I always find the gobblers and the hens real close to some thick stuff and open woods. So they roost in the open woods, and then they'll fly down, feed. Gobbler's going to strut around. And if the hen's already bred and she has a nest, guess where she's going? Right to that thick stuff. But they always seem to, and I don't know if it's for safety, like if the hen feels safe with the gobbler or what have you, but that seems to be over the last 5 years where we're finding a lot of the turkeys is right on the edge of something thick and then open.
That maybe more eyes, maybe that could be a reason for predators. Like if there's more predators in the area. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Huh. I'm just picturing exactly what you just described. Where that is. I was like, well, man, I need to
see when you talk to someone.
I'm going to want to go turkey hunting now in the spring, and it's like,
when you talk to someone who knows what they're doing, it just makes you like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah, makes sense.
But then you get out there, it's a lot harder than just like,
it's like, well, this isn't as easy as what he said.
Yeah, you'll sit there and watch the Masters, and you watch them guys hit the ball, and then you're like, I'm going to go golfing this weekend, and then you're like, wow, I need to practice.
Let me tell you, the last time I didn't go, last time I went golfing, everything was like cutting to the right. So I think I fixed that. I went to Top Golf down in Florida with my brother-in-law, and I was nailing the balls, dude. Like I was like almost hitting like out towards the very end. Like I was hitting almost 400-yard drives. I think it was almost 400 yards. I was nailing it, dude. Like let me tell you,
I'll stick to mini golf. I'm okay.
Oh, my putt game is on point.
Yeah, I'm undefeated.
Got to work on that long game.
Yeah. So what's back to turkey?
No more golf. Okay.
No more golf. No.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. No, I see it every year.
Point your feet in the right direction.
Every year.
I'm talking about golfing.
Yes. People complain about the spring gobbler season. It's like it's too late. It's too late in the year. We should have it earlier. And like, why do people? Because you see, there's so much. I see a lot of people having success when it comes to killing a tom every year. So why are people always complaining that it's too late, even though they're still active?
Well, basically, when I see those comments on like Instagram or Facebook, it's basically them announcing that they suck at turkey hunting.
That is, yes.
Like that's
you.
That's my I don't, like I said, I don't start my season until around like May 14th, May 13th. Early season, it is definitely easier to kill them. Like youth season, like and maybe the 2 weeks before that, those turkeys will come into basically anything. And then it seems like, and I applaud the game commission because they do have it timed up very well, where it drops off enough where hunters aren't just going to go out there and kill every gobbler out there. Because if they let us go hunt, mid-April, there wouldn't be any gobblers come, May. Easy to kill that early. They come into everything and anything. So I don't know. It seems like for me, I always have more success with gobbling. The reason I like turkey hunting in the spring, I like to hear them gobble. So like the first week when the leaves aren't on, I don't hear hardly any gobbling. And I think that has a lot to do with predation, where if they're standing in open woods with no leaves on, they're just announcing where they're at. So, they have bobcats, coyotes, fox, whatever's going to come and try to get them. Whereas when the leaves are on, they feel more comfortable, but two, they also can't see 300 yards down through the woods either. So they're, when that hen gets 75 yards out of view, now he can't see her because there's leaves all over the trees. So there's more gobbling, but then also you got to think when the leaves are on, it's harder to hear. So we were talking earlier about, getting to those vantage points and stuff. And that's especially important later in the season when the leaves are on. And it's, there's more Tweety birds chirping. The wind's blowing into the leaves are rustling in the trees. It's way harder to hear later, but it seems like the birds are more vocal because of that exact reason. It's just harder to hear. It's harder to see. They're trying to find each other.
Yeah. I mean, back to the predation thing, like I actually, where those 9 toms were, I have about 50 yards from that, I have 2 bobcats that are on camera. So like they're right near predators too. But then when those toms are on camera, it's like foggy out. So I don't know if that's something to do with it, like with not being able to see, they stick together more, obviously.
I haven't been able to with the fog and stuff. I don't know. It seems I can't pattern turkeys. I'm not good at patterning turkeys. I'm not. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I told you I could do that.
You're running gun. You're running gun. I get that.
Yeah.
Hey, if it works, right?
Yeah.
So I want to do some rapid fire questions for you because I think we didn't cover these in the pod, like deep inside of it when we're in the nitty gritty of it. So running gun versus setup and weight.
It depends where you're at in the day. So like for me personally, all morning I'll run around, try to call, and then I'm going to get tired, like I'll walk mostly every day upwards of 10 miles. Mm-hmm. I take a week off in the spring and that's usually how I hunt, is just walk around, try to find them. And if it's one of those days where you can hunt all day, if the season lines up where you can hunt past noon, then, maybe at 5 o'clock, if I'm wore down, I'll set up and call. And I've killed birds doing that. I can vividly remember one down in Tennessee. I did that. I walked back and I like, you know what, I'm just going to sit here. And I sat there for maybe 10 minutes calling before he answered, and he come right in and I killed it. And actually on the first day of gobbler season in Pennsylvania, 2016, it was like 11:30. And I was like, you know what? I was walking back to the truck and I was like, I'm just going to sit here for the last half hour. And at 10 to noon, I killed a bird from just sitting there. I mean, I think it's one of those things. It's the beauty of turkey hunting. You can choose your strategy. I mean, and they all work. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of old timers out there that aren't going to be able to put the miles on like what I can do right now. And one day that's going to be me too. And my strategy is going to change. So, to say there's one right way or wrong way would be a foolish thing to do, because I think the biggest keys to turkey hunting are your setup is number one. And then, how you call to it is the second thing.
Well, let's talk about your setup. So for the setup, would you rather do a blind, or would you rather do hardwoods, just you set up and, perfect camo, all that kind of stuff?
Yep. I mean, I'm pretty mobile, and when I hear turkeys gobble, even if I was blind calling, I will get up and move based maybe on where he gobbled from. Mm-hmm. Depending on from, I'm going to make a move. So you'll never find me turkey hunting in a blind.
Okay.
Ever.
All right.
So,
I think I did that. No, I didn't even do that once.
You sat under a pine tree.
I sat in a pine tree. Almost every time I go out turkey hunting, I'm under the pine tree. I don't know why. Yeah. So now the setup, like you said you don't run decoys too much, right? But what's your setup for turkey hunting? Like what's your setup look like?
So when I pick a spot to set up, I usually look where the turkey's at and I think about what he has to come through to get to me. You know, is he going to be willing to walk through what's between me and him?
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be one. As soon as you hear that turkey, when I hear a turkey gobble, I just start walking straight to it normally. I don't even look at my phone to see the map. I just start walking to it, you know, until I get to a certain point where, okay, I'm close enough now. He knows that I'm committed to him, or otherwise I can hear him coming to me. And then I'm going to start to make a decision. Okay, if I set up there, I'm in shade, you know, and that's a key. You want to be set up where the sun's not going to be shining on you, because turkeys can see better than any big game animal that you're ever going to hunt in North America.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one, is make sure that the sun's not beating down on you. I've killed turkeys when the sun was beating down on me, but you know, preferably you want to be shaded.
Mm-hmm.
And then also too, I touched on it earlier, is I don't want to see that turkey until he's in shotgun range. You know, I hunt with a guy who's filming, Chad Clacom, but sorry, Chad, we're trying to kill this turkey, and he knows that. And so we get, you know, him and I can hunt pretty well together because, you know, we have the same strategy. We want to kill the turkey first and foremost. And, you know I've pissed Chad off a couple of times where I shot a little too soon, but and it's hard because we're not hunting, you know, big fields and stuff where you got the turkey coming in, you know, to a set of decoys. The turkey's coming in and he's taking a peek to see if something's there, and if not, he's getting the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's usually how I set up. I see that turkey for maybe, you know, 5-10 seconds, and if I don't kill him there, he's gone.
So you set up so you want him to come through thick stuff. Like you want him to come through where you can barely see him coming through?
Not necessarily where I can see him barely coming through, but he can't see me and I can't see him until he steps in the opening. So he might be coming around something thick, or he might be poking his head up over a log. He might be poking his head up over a hill. He might, you know, be coming through around some brush somewhere or a rock. But that's where I want to be set up. And that seems to be the best strategy I've ever had, was the setup is, you know, don't try to have the picture perfect video hunt that you see on TV, because that's a pipe dream in most cases for most people, you know, especially on timber public land. You know, you're going to have to shoot that turkey at 35 yards. And most of the time on public land, the woods is pretty open, you know, so getting a good setup where he doesn't have a long way to see you and see that there's no hen there, that's key.
And there's different ideas of thick stuff. Like there could be like you're set up over the knob, so as soon as you see his head come up, you can shoot him, right? Like there's different ways you can kind of see him before he sees you, or be able to pinpoint him, especially if he's coming up over.
I would say for hunters that are just getting into turkey hunting, that situation specifically, more often than not, people will shoot the wrong turkey. So be careful with the setup where turkey's poking his head up over the hill, because you might hear one gobbler gobbling the whole time, and then there's a jake with him, or there's a hen with him that never made a peep. So when you're all excited and, you know, oh, I'm going to kill this gobbler, I just heard him gobble right there 20 yards from me. And then he's, you know, you can hear the rustling of the leaves, and then you see a red head pop up, but no beard or anything. You know, if it's a gobbler in Pennsylvania with a beard, you can shoot it. So if it's a jake, see the full beard, as long as you see a beard, shoot it. But like, really be careful with that scenario. I know some guys who have shot the wrong bird, not being a hen, but a jake. They're like, oh, you know, and that's usually the story you'll get from people. You know, they didn't want to shoot the jake. But they felt the pressure and they wanted to shoot a jake. I don't care what people shoot. You know, I'll shoot it if I have to, but it's kind of the excuse why they shot it. Oh, it was the first one that poked its head up. Well, just take your time and make by what you're shooting.
That's very true. I did not even think of that, to be honest with you. I didn't think about the whole, like, he could be with another hen. He could be with a Jake. He could just, a hen may come in before he does, right? It could be anything. Because, I mean, when you're calling, you could call in a hen easy, because we did that before up at Clinton County. Like, we had a hen come into our own calls. It was like, so she was going nuts because she was also trying to call in a Tom at the point. So the big thing, I mean, in today's day and age, everyone's worried about camo. Is there a certain type of camo that you're running, or does the camo really even matter when you're out there? Like, what's that look like?
I don't think it really matters, because I hunt with my, when he was wearing army camo, and I think the main thing is sit still and try to blend in with your surroundings. I mean, I think what alerts a lot of the animals, like deer and turkeys, is the silhouette of our head and shoulders. I don't think as soon as they see that, I think that trips them out. I don't think they it. And I think if you can hide that part of you, if they don't silhouette you, more often than not, they're either just going to walk by you and keep an eye on you, or they're not going to see you at all. Sometimes they'll keep an eye on you, but not spook. But if they can see that head and shoulder area, then they don't like that.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, deer are the same way, right? Like, it's like, but that turkeys see a lot better than deer do, which is why they always said about like, if you see a turkey during deer season, keep a lookout from behind, because there may be a deer behind them, because they see better than the deer does. Bow or shotgun, which would you rather do?
I've never killed a turkey with the bow, but I've never pursued them with the bow. So I prefer shotgun. I kind of like the smell of the gunpowder after the gun goes off in the morning, and that's kind of the part of the turkey hunt for me. So I would say shotgun.
Take a big whiff.
Clear out them sinuses.
I like that. So what's your most memorable turkey hunt?
This is such a hard question. I feel like I've given a different answer on every podcast I've ever been on. But I would say, I think it was like 3 years ago, and we actually have this hunt on film. I was with Chad, and we were driving to a spot to go sit in the evening and blind call, like we were just talking about. Turkey pitches down out of the tree above the road. So I don't know if a bobcat or a coyote or something put the turkey up in the tree, but it shouldn't have been in the roost at 5 o'clock. So it soars down the middle of the road and flies for a good 200 yards. And we're following it in my truck. And, it lights on the road, and then it runs into the woods. And we're like, holy shit, that's a longbeard. So we set up there and we got him to gobble that evening. Well, my grandpa hadn't got a bird yet. So we took him in there in the morning, and it was the most textbook perfect off the roost hunt you could get. Chad was sitting there with him filming. The bird gobbled maybe 150 times, within a half an hour. And I called him right up to my grandpa, and he shot it. So it was like, and my grandpa, that year he's 82. And I've called one in for him the last 2 years too. So he's been on a roll.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing. Like, I think it means so much more when you have either you get your dad on one, or your grandfather, or, one of your buddies on one. Like, I feel like it, like you said earlier, you love getting on them yourself, but when you're able to get one to come in to someone else, it's also just as enjoyable.
Yep. And that's what's fun. I mean, my grandpa was with me when I shot my first spring gobbler. He took me out before school. My dad was working midnight, so he wasn't able to take me. And I remember going out before school. He got me, and 15 yards away, this bird comes out to us, and I shot it. And I was so excited. And we surprised my dad with the turkey, because my dad, my dad had been taking me, and, so now I get to return the favor to my grandpa. I got last year, and he's been killing them basically every fall with us here. And, he did all that for us, and now we get to kind of return the favor for him.
Love that. That's what I think both of us try and do with our dads. Like, we try and get them on deer now, because it's like, okay, when I return the favor, because I can't even, I mean, I probably count the number of times, probably 11 times my dad has let me shot a doe before he would shoot the doe. So like, it's just like when you're sitting with your dad or your grandfather, even like they'll be like, you go ahead, you take the shot.
Yeah.
Like it
Yep.
comes
That's
full
kind
circle.
of like that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like it's more of like a camaraderie thing than it is, like a me thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it just comes with time and,
Yep.
age and time out in the field, all that kind of stuff, and success out in the field too. Like if you get down on
Success
some deer.
Yep. Yep. If you've already had the success, then then at that point, like it feels you don't have any pressure, I guess is the way to put it, is like you're not trying to impress anybody. Like there's nothing, you just have fun now.
Yeah, it was my like my best memory from the season was seeing my dad shoot one and me being able to film my dad shoot one like this year. Like that was fun. Like that was a fun
that's
experience.
cool.
I would have loved to be there for Ethan's buck to film him, but of course he had to shoot it when no one was there.
Yeah,
So,
I couldn't wait.
Either way,
Like, man, these guys are taking forever to get up to the cabin.
just tied him and then just
Should've
waited.
Yeah, like he wasn't going anywhere. He probably would have bedded down with that doe for the next 3 days. I could have hunted him.
We could have did a good old bump and dump on him. We could have, we could have used their saddles. We could have used
I got
the
selfish.
hang and
I'm
bang,
sorry.
run and gun. We could use all the methods the hunting public uses.
I'm a selfish hunter. What can I say?
So where can people, or let's talk about ANF first before we end the podcast. So how did that come about and what is it exactly?
So I started this call company, and I had some buddies who were helping me name it, and we named it Allen and Friends, just like an N in the middle, Custom Calls. And where I hunt is the Allegheny National Forest. So the acronym for Allegheny National Forest, ANF. And it was kind of like a double entendre, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we kind of got the name. But I donate a portion of the money from the calls each year to the U.S. Forest Service. I got started into making calls in 2014, so I've been making calls about 11 years now. Okay. And calling competitively, and I would spend $10 on a call that didn't really work for me, and so then I'd start. You just learn how to make my own, and I burnt through maybe I want to say like 200 and some calls before I figured out the secret sauce, let's say.
Yeah.
So then once I got them going, people started buying them from me. Hey, can you make me some? Can you make me some? And then like it just kind of snowballed where my calls were working for people, and I was like, I need to make this into a business. So that's when I started the business in 2019. And then it's just been growing from there. I mean, I don't put a lot into marketing because, I try to keep the cost of the calls down as much as I can. I mean, I just really enjoy the trying to sound as realistic as possible. So when I make my calls, they might not be for everybody. I'm not a company that's really I have it custom calls in there, but I try to make calls that I know are going to sound good. I'm not just going to throw a call out there and sell it to you just to sell it. Like I have to believe in it. Just like an instrument company, they're not going to just cater to the masses. They're going to do what they feel is the best sounding quality that they can make. And so that's kind of where I'm at, and so the calls that you see on my website, I can run every single one of them. And if I can't run them, I'm not going to sell them to you.
And before you sell them to someone, you test each one out, right?
Yeah. Mouthwash and right into the bag.
Nice.
Yeah, let me wipe that off.
So, what would be, say for a novice, someone who's getting into mouth calls, what would be the one that you have that's like, okay, you're starting out, this is the one you should start with?
It's hard to say. I have a series that I call the Hunter series, which is stretched just ever so slightly less than my signature series. The signature series is the tension that I call on. And when you get that kind of call, a lot of people will throw the call in their mouth, call on it, and be like, man, I just really, it's not going to work for me. But they don't think about the fact that it's latex, and the latex will stretch, and then it will settle to a point once it's broken in. So the Hunter series is stretched to where if you break that signature series in, it's going to be the same tension as what the Hunter series starts out in.
Okay.
So the Hunter series is going to break in and then be stretched slightly less, but it's still, and that's kind of like right at the point where it'll stop sounding to what I want it to sound like.
Okay.
That, I don't know if I had some word vomit there, but
No, I mean, it makes sense because the Hunter series is what the signature series will get to eventually, right? Is that what it was?
yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. So if you don't want to have that long process, is it even that long of a process to get the signature series to the Hunter series?
No, it's probably 5 minutes of consistent
Oh.
calling. Just sit there and blowing on it, and then it'll settle into what it's going to stay at. And then you put that call, let it dry, like set it on the counter for 15-20 minutes, let it dry, throw it directly into the freezer. Don't put it in the refrigerator. Refrigerator will dry your reeds out.
So
and
I had no idea you had to put it in the freezer. Like, is it after every time or just one time you put it in the freezer?
I put it in the freezer after every time I use it. So when I'm up at camp, when I'm done hunting, I set it on the table, let them dry, throw it in the freezer. And those calls will last years.
And why is that? Like, why do you throw it in the freezer? Because I didn't even know that.
I think the refrigerator dehydrates the latex. So if you think about it'll dry rot the latex material, whereas just preserve it.
Okay, because I never even knew you're supposed to put it in the.
I could be talking crazy, but that's just what I've found works for me. So that's what I tell people. That's just the best advice I could give you. That's what seems to work for me. There might be some scientific evidence that points otherwise, but that just seems to be what's keeping my calls safe and good.
So to put it, your reason you're putting, what's the reason behind putting them in the fridge and the freezer? Is it just the longevity of it?
Yep. So if you just leave the latex out after you've wet it, and you don't put it in the refrigerator or anything, it's going to naturally, just think of your rubber boots. Time they dry rot. Well, rubber boots are thick. Just imagine a micro fraction of an inch piece of latex. That's not going to last very long out in the sun. If you leave one of these calls in your car for one day, it's pretty much shot. It's not going to sound like if you leave your turkey vest with your turkey calls in your truck for a day, it's pretty much gonna zap them.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that at all. Because I bought the Primos ones from Walmart, and I kept that in my state car, and nothing happened to that. So it was I guess the type of material you're using.
No, I think it might be I'm talking, if you want to sound as realistic as possible and keep the integrity of the call.
Yeah.
Read it the way I'm saying is I mean, you can still get turkey sounds out of my calls if you leave them in. But if you want to sound if you want to go to competitions and call and sound as real as possible and keep the integrity of the call, that's the way to preserve them.
Oh, well, there we go. Okay. Did not know that.
Oh, yeah. That's what you were missing this whole time. You could have had a turkey.
That was my secret sauce.
It'll just lose your, it won't be as tight. I would say was what I found is because I've done it too where I forgot, and thankfully I if I left them in my truck by accident, I can replace them. But for the guy who went and spent $10 to $20 on a pack of calls, he's keeping.
Yeah, that's very true. So where can people go and buy some calls? What's the website?
www.ANF Custom Calls, and then .com, and then we have Instagram and Facebook, and I think I have a couple of videos on TikTok, but I haven't really been keeping up on TikTok. But you can.
Not even sure.
If you want to hear of not only me calling, but my good friend Dylan Mild, I have a couple of sound files of what you could sound like with these. And, it's not just me calling. I'm not the only one that can use these calls. So you can kind of hear what other people sound like on them too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool to hear. Yeah. Love to hear that. Where can people follow you, Kyle, and all that kind of good stuff?
Instagram, Kyle D. Allen.
Cool, man. Well, we really appreciate you coming on here again. It was a great turkey talk, a lot of information, information overload for me.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
excited to go out there now and chase some turkeys. At least maybe 1 or 2
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on, and good luck this spring. Hope you guys get on them.
Thanks. You too, man.
You bet.